Thank you. Okay. Right. Quick question, Councillor Isaacs.
Just heard from the officer. Matter of thinking on feet. This is not what it's about. This proposal not adequate for the situation which it faces, and it should be refused.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll note that. Right. So we do have a right. Hold on. Let me just get my. So we have had. We have one objector. Do you want to come forward, Councillor Gunners, please? Now, representation has been received by email, which has been circulated to the committee, and that's going to be summarised by Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. So members will have on their tables the late objection we received from a local resident, and this was received after the addendum was finalised, so we couldn't report it to you in that addendum. The objection, in summary, is concerned about adding pressure to local benefit and employment support systems, undermining active community programmes which benefit residents, increasing the potential for antisocial incidents, and further unbalancing local land use away from employment supportive functions. So those issues are overwhelmingly reported and covered in our committee report. I would add that the people who will live here, if it's approved, are already Haringey residents, so there won't be any additional impact or demand on services in the borough. The existing businesses within the property have been aware that the property will be repurposed in the near future, so have short leases. The Met Police have no objection to this scheme, and a management plan, as we have discussed, has been submitted to help manage antisocial behaviour and any associated safety concerns associated with the accommodation. And there are employment opportunities within the scheme. There would be a cafe along with the temporary accommodation staffing. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that's this that you've all got a copy of. So, Councillor Gunners, thank you for coming and waiting.
Thank
so
you,
you
Chair.
have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the opportunity to put our objection to the committee. I'm just not speaking on, I'm also on behalf of my colleagues, Councillor Peacock, and who are also objecting to planning this development. I just wanted to, due to various personal reasons, they're both not able to, I just wanted to emphasize that all three councillors have some strong concerns, and that's the basis of our objection. And one of them is Councillor Ibrahim rightly picked it up earlier on. That's part of what our objections are. It's like disproportionate number of single homeless supported accommodation in South Tottenham ward in particular, but in that particular area, I think Councillor Rice also raised that as well. So there is actually Mulberry Court is a single homeless accommodation on the of that area. So our main concerns and reason why we are objecting, we are worried that basically it could potentially increase antisocial behavior and difficulty, and also we don't believe that residents are being properly consulted. I mean, I looked at the papers, and yes, consultation with certain residents around the area. I think the social impact of that has not been considered, and resident has not been consulted about that, nor are the councillors. I think in principle, of course, I'm not against the idea of, there being, we need to have accommodation to appropriately accommodate single homeless vulnerable people. But I think in case of South Tottenham, we are worried that there is a disproportionate number of concentration, and that's difficult to manage. So I'm just asking the committee to basically consider all the evidence you heard, and also the idea or the drive toward a mixed community. And I feel like if a disproportionate number of same accommodation are built in one concentrated area, then we are actually losing the mixed tenure social community of that area. So we really need to, I think, yeah, we just want to register our strong opposition. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Gunners, for that. So are there any questions, quick questions for Councillor Gunners? Councillor Emery and
Thanks. Thanks for that. Is there already a number of single occupancy dwellings for this type of proposal in South Tottenham?
Yes, there is actually one with close proximity to this proposed plan, Mulberry Court, corner of Monument Way. It's literally on and yeah, so there is a large number of similar accommodation already in that area. And also one additional point that we I forgot to mention in terms of, even though it says like Haringey Council will have the priority to place its homeless residents, but there is no guarantee. So it's like it could be open to receiving or accommodating homeless people across London. So I think Haringey is not necessarily gaining a huge deal, like it's not going to help us hugely to house our homeless residents.
Maddie, did you say that the Mulberry Junction was different because that was a day centre? Can you just
Yeah, sorry. So there's two services on the corner block that you're describing. So there's Mulberry Junction, which is a day centre service for people that are off sleeping anywhere in the borough can access that service, and that creates a kind of footfall in the area, in the local area. And then there's separately above that ground floor building is a number of commissioned supported housing services, which functions as an assessment centre. So it is slightly different. It's short stay accommodation for people with support needs.
Thank you. Councillor Donovan?
Talking to people other times in the local area in South Tottenham, they talk about Olive Morris House, I think is 31 units, which obviously offers a great service. However, some people are concerned that there is some antisocial behaviour from there, either from the residents or from attracted by development. And I suppose my question is, will this development, how will this development be different from, managed different from house? Thank you.
I'm not really sure that's a question for Councillor Gunnis. I don't think you know. No. Yeah, we're actually, the questions are for Councillor Gunnis.
Sorry, I was going to say I don't have the comprehensive list of where the other similar type of accommodation are placed, but I know for a fact that there are a number of, like there's quite a few of them, even around Tottenham High Road, close to Seven Sisters Station, and yeah, it is far too many, and it impacts on the mixed community and the idea.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions, please? Councillor Bartlett?
The objector who's emailed in has mentioned that the site is already used for community activities. Do you know much about that? Is that right?
Yes, I think at the moment it's used for educational, various different community activities. Yes, the community is rightly worried that they will lose that space. It's an affordable various events.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for no more questions. Thank you very much, Councillor Gunnis. So can I ask the applicants to come? I'll keep you sitting there, Maddie. So you have.
I'm Milan Babik, I'm the architect.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, members. My name is Jerry Bell. I'm the agent. Thank you for giving us the opportunity this evening. I won't go through the application. I think that's been explained very well by the case officer. A lot of detail has been explored tonight by the questions. I think I'll just reiterate the need. And Maddie has obviously explained it very well to you. It's not necessary for me and rehearse argument, but I would say that we have engaged, not with just the local planning authority. We've gone beyond that. We've engaged with the housing authority, we've engaged teams, we've been with colleagues who deal with crime. So we're going to be meeting on secure by design, because I know a lot of concerns about anticipation issues that's been raised. And obviously we've engaged with you yourselves. We've come to pre-meet here, and we've invited some members down to the community that's already been running them for 30 years, very successfully without any complaints or any issues that have been raised. So I'm not going to rehearse all the arguments here, so I'd rather just answer any questions, any concerns and issues.
My point as the architect, I've looked at the building, I've spoken with the conservation officer, Elizabeth, we've engaged. They've asked us to look at the front of the elevation. Could we remove some of the cladding to see what was behind? And on the back of that, we found the original facade was there. So we've agreed to reinstate that, which is a positive move and contribution to the streetscape. The rest of the building is fairly functional, but we're going to make good as best we can and put it back into a proper useful use. We have landscaping, there'll be plant pots, purpose-made plant pots outside people's windows on the ground floor level, got green roofs, etc. So we're trying to put the building back into a good positive use. I think that's what we've actually achieved. We've looked at the internal layout, we've put a staircase where we need to, we've looked at the windows, we've put rooms where that all got good windows. 14 square meters seems to be mentioned, but in actual fact, 90% of the rooms will be between 19 and 27 square meters. There's only a number of slightly smaller rooms throughout the development, so it will actually be far better quality of standard than what you normally have in the borough.
And finally, I just wanted to clarify an issue that was raised, councillor, in that the clients can come across London. I mean, this is not actually the case. We will be in a legal agreement with the council, so all the clients will come from Haringey. They'll have first reviews that will be legally binding in the Section 106 agreement. So the council, so it won't
Right,
come across.
so everyone will come, right, from Haringey. That's clarified that. Okay. I just want to, so at the moment, is the building empty, or are there other organisations in it?
It's used on a ad hoc part-time basis. It's certainly not fully occupied. There are some occasional educational, and then there's church facilities towards the end of the week.
3 outstanding questions. I don't know which one of you wants to answer this, but there was about how you're going to deal with antisocial behaviour. How do you deal with loneliness, lack of residents might feel, and the screening process? So I don't know.
Right, so the first one, sorry, what was the first question again?
Was how are you going to deal with antisocial behaviour if it comes as it?
Right, so there's 2 security guards 24/7. There's CCTV cameras around the whole of the building and internal in the common parts. Within the management plan, it is their role to find if there is any antisocial behaviour to basically break it up, and if it is beyond a certain level, then they will have to remove those people from the premises.
Just to add to that, in terms of the staffing, there will be a manager, there'll be caseworkers, there's going to be support staff, there's going to be security personnel. All the staff undergo trauma-informed care, cultural sensitivity, and emergency response protocols. So I think, the applicant is well versed in providing this sort of facility, has a lot of experience in it. And, I think hopefully they're on Teams, and he can answer some of these questions in far more detail than we can. So,
yes.
If I could just say one other thing, the provider already runs a facility for 100 rooms, And obviously that's a lot, that's double what we're having in on the high streets, and that is well marshaled. They've got the experience. But rather than me talk about that, you've got Newton, who's in Australia, who's listening in. He's the client, and I think he would best answering this question.
Yes.
Okay, I will bring you in. Can you address, so how are you going to deal with antisocial behaviour? How will you deal with loneliness and lack of support? And then, yeah, those, can you deal with those
Yes.
issues, please?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Firstly, on the antisocial behaviour point, Milan's obviously pointed out we have staff on the ground. It's actually not just about having staff there, and then it's also about knowing the residents, and we obviously have a relationship with the residents that live in our properties. All of the staff interact with residents. It's not a simple case of people coming in as if they were in a hotel, checking in and checking out. There is obviously contact when we're in and about cleaning the room. We provide clean bed linen for residents, and we need to go into the rooms to do that. So it's actually about understanding and preventing it in a proactive way. If in fact we see somebody heavily drinking, we will actually say to them, this is not appropriate if you're not behaving appropriately. But we don't interact in terms of their special needs, because as I'm sure Maddie will explain better than I, council have and will provide support services for people who have particular antisocial difficulties. Incidents individually are separate from longer term, if you like, day after day issues. So we can deal very much with what's going on inside the building. Outside the building is, of course, another matter, because we'd have no jurisdiction outside. But if you look at the design of the building, we are keeping there's only a very specific entry and exit to the premises that is very much surveyed, and we will ensure that area is obviously well overseen by our security guards, but we're not there to patrol the high road per se. Going to the most important point, which is in our experience, we're dealing with single residents because we simply have, in the past, we've had other properties where you've had couples mixing with singles. That's actually where antisocial behavior is far greater, because there is an unbalanced mix of who's in the building. With 100 residents in the Newham one, and I can assure you they are in all sorts of circumstances when they come to us, we do not have that problem, because the surveillance is actually quite, it's subtle, but it's quite insofar as it's there. People know they're being watched, and that from that perspective, not being watched, being filmed, and from that perspective, it reduces any real tension we have. We've been in this business for 30 years, and we've never had a major issue inside. Obviously, there may be one or two between one or two residents, but over the years, we've never had a problem inside the building. I think your concern about people hanging around outside, you just have to understand, by visiting one of our premises, most residents want to stay in their room. They're grateful that council has found them emergency accommodation. That is where they stay. We're also delighted that we've now got an opportunity to create some open space, because we do see the social element as being needed, but it's our experience that residents don't take them up on that. They're much happier to stay within doors. Now, the loneliness aspect is obviously something which is being managed. It's being managed by virtue of the fact we're putting this open space in. Very, very often there's nowhere to go. We've also got rooms within the building now that could be used for that purpose as well. So we've gone a little bit further here, because there were concerns raised from officers that if that was a need, that could be addressed, and it therefore will. But again, we aren't there to to oversee the residents hour by hour. We are working with council who do provide those sorts of services, and will recommend whether they go to that day centre that I'm delighted is up the road, because that would seem a very sensible use of that space for these particular residents. But we'll also have the ability for council to come into our building as well to offer that individual service if it's needed, for whether it's lonely or whether it's just people looking for other activities other than just staying in their room. The screening of in other words, the selection of, we don't select who lives in our property. The providers select that, and I think Maddie's also spoken to that already. So that's not something that we specifically look to.
Thank
Next.
you. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so Councillor Ibrahim.
So obviously, as it's emergency accommodation, then the referral goes in and there is no actual tenure. So how much rent do we pay to this provider per unit?
The application is to be accompanied by a legal agreement, which includes a local housing allowance. So basically, the legal agreement will be set the level of rent, and it will be housing allowance. So we can't charge, whatever we want.
No, that's, you've answered my question. So they'll be paying, so the council will be paying this, I assume, because the tenant has no
Correct.
tenancy agreement.
That-
So
that
we
is
will be
correct.
paying the local housing allowance, even though the tenant is effectively, are they a licensee even? What are they? What's their legal basis there?
I'll bring you in for this.
I don't know if there's the providers on the call, but I'm sure it's likely to mirror the service that's run in South London. Usually how this operates. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can speak to that. Sorry, Maddie. Yeah. So there are rates that you specifically agree with us, which are anywhere between 45 to, I think it is £55 a night. Obviously the larger spaces do have a premium rent over the slightly smaller ones. There's not the £10 difference is possibly for the disabled units, which are slightly larger on the ground floor. But generally speaking, that is an agreement that will be set between ourselves and Haringey, and it's pretty much dictated by Haringey insofar as the market conditions exist. So we're not talking about something which is enormously expensive. We are talking about something which is in keeping with the emergency housing market which exists in London. It's certainly substantially lower than you will find in some of the other buildings that are being used for emergency accommodation.
Thank you. All right, Councillor Ibrahim.
So can I just correct that £55 a night?
Yes.
That was maximum. It was 45.
Well, they're all rooms, aren't they? So that's 1,650. Yeah. It's for one room. Yeah, but my question is to the officer. So it's around £1,600 a month for a room. So it's effectively a hotel. That's a hotel rate, because you get a 1-bedroom flat or 2-bedroom flat for that in Haringey per month.
yeah, so the rates are similar to emergency accommodation rates. They're not comparable to kind of council or social.
Okay,
No, I get
right.
that,
Thank
but it's
you.
not.
Thanks.
But we're not saving money
Thank
doing
you.
it.
Thank you. Right. Okay. So can we just indicate who wants to speak? I've got Councillor Brennan, Councillor Donovan, and Councillor Emery. So Councillor Brennan.
Okay, two questions. One, very simple question. Because obviously you're going to have experience. You say you've got a lot of experience in this, in looking after maintaining the actual the ASB and everything, because you've got experience in all your other properties. It's just because this is a new one, although you are experienced. So I presume, are you going to import experienced staff in and bring new staff into the other place? Because this is a new one, you've got to, they can't have the experience before they get, you know what I mean?
Yes,
What-
I think. Oh,
You
sorry.
talked tonight.
Yeah, I will. So our intention is most certainly to use our experienced staff, but we're obviously expanding the facilities that we've got, so that we will need to bring in new staff. All the training that is undertaken will continue as it has done, because it serves us so well. So it's a simple question, but it's an absolute clarity. We wouldn't put somebody on the front desk of this space without having worked for at least 12 months in an existing one, because it makes for a much easier routine if we stick to a very clinical routine approach to how we operate. It's most certainly not a hotel. I wouldn't dream of calling it a hotel. It's actually providing a front door and a front door key to somebody who hasn't possibly had them for some time. And it's certainly not for long-term accommodation. This is nightly accommodation, and there's an awful lot that goes into ensuring that the person is brought in respectfully, and is effectively allowed to live as comfortably as is needed until that longer-term solution is found.
Councillor Emery.
Thank you. Can you outline, I asked earlier about the bin situation. Can you please outline how you're going to manage the waste situation in the property?
The commercial unit on the high road, that will have a separate commercial refuse store. It's a modest space. It's 80 square meters. Take away the service part of it. That probably leaves 55 square meters of actual usable space, and there'll be a separate bin store with recycling in the back of that premises that's taken out as and when required. The actual units themselves, there is a separate refuse and cycling store on the southern boundary that will be enclosed, etc. And we've provided the number of Euro bins required and requested by your refuse department.
Councillor O'Donovan.
Thank you. It's related to this review of the decision, which I think will be held after 6 months. Part of that review will be a list of complaints and action that was taken to address those complaints. Will there be if people, local residents or actually residents live in your property, will there be a clear complaints procedure where they know who to complain to? Obviously, local councillors like Councillor Matt Bulley would also want to have details of that, and possibly details of maybe the on-site managers, so any problem can be.
I think it'd be best if Newton answers.
Yeah,
Sorry.
This is.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, this is certainly territory that we're well used to, because obviously we are a resident in a street, and like any resident that is effectively running an operation like this, we would want to engage with not just the councillors present here today, but anyone who has a concern, be it a resident inside the building or outside the building. Yes, our manager will be available to meet, and certainly I think the follow-up meeting is an excellent way of us improving a service that will be, after all, a new service in that location. We believe it's an extremely manageable location, which is one of the reasons why we've been trying to move this forward for so much time now, because it's an ideal location for us to be able to do all of that. It is also in the right spot to attract any communication with anyone. It's literally a 24-hour-a-day operation. So there'll be the usual website opportunity if you want to make a direct contact with us, if you don't want to literally come and speak to us, but we're very, very much working hand in hand with the community, not just with the council itself.
Sorry, just to add to that, there is a condition on the planning, if members are minded to support the application this evening, there would be a condition on the planning in terms of the management plan, which would require us by law, by concept, managers. So it's not just a commitment, it's a legal requirement that we're part of the condition on the planning application as well. And I can address some of the issues that have been raised about the comparisons with hotels, but it's up to you members if you want me to address that.
Okay, all right, thank you. So let's leave that for, I've got, so Councillor Brennan, questions, please. Quick questions, please.
So just to clarify, does the cost, I don't know whether it's to yourself or to Maddie actually, but does the cost of this, is it comparable with what we're currently paying, what we standardly pay for this sort of accommodation? Is it, but I've got another question, so I'll put them both and then you can. And the other question was, because people are talking about the loss of the teaching facilities or whatever, and you've got your commercial facilities that are coming in, do you see much employment, how much employment of local employment there?
So just kind of by way of comparison, we're currently paying between £75 and £85 a night for hotel accommodation. We pay less than this for nightly purchased accommodation. There is a range, so it would be really difficult for me to say, but it's somewhere usually between £35 and £65 a night. So those are two different types of accommodation that aren't exactly similar, aren't exactly the same as this, but I think it kind of helps show it's not the most expensive and it's not the cheapest.
Right, thank you. And Councillor Collette?
Thank you, Chair. 3 very quick questions. I just wondered, other than the actual cost of the rent, as it were, per room, are there any additional costs that Haringey are covered with? And also just 2 very quick things, really just about sort of therapeutic possibilities within the project. Is there any facility for thinking with your landscape gardeners about areas that can be gardened by residents? I noticed at Newham there where people were actually sort of finding pots and trying to grow things there. And I think it might be nice to actually build that into that design. And thirdly, whether there is any possibility within the leasing of the cafe to put in a caveat that there should be some form of apprenticeship or link with the homeless facility so that we can see people coming in and getting some work experience.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, I think none are objectionable, and I'm quite happy to include it in the legal. You know, we'd be more than willing to encourage and to residents get work if we have the opportunity through our own facility and they're capable of doing so. Then yes, I'm sure Newton, who's the applicant, wouldn't have an objection to that.
I mean, so this is only going to help. It's not going to hinder, because we don't see the cafe completely in isolation from the use. So it does yes, we would support that. In terms of the garden area, I think again that's a lovely idea. You've got to remember these aren't residents who are there long term, so they don't get to necessarily see the growth of whatever it is that they're doing. But I mean, it's about actually having something to do, and I think that again is something that we can very easily incorporate. It's a good idea. In terms of the cost, we bear all of the costs, additional costs ourselves. So we literally do just charge the council that nightly rate. That is, I mean, obviously, if there is a complete disaster that somehow a resident has created a considerable amount of damage, which I can only remember one incident in 30 years where we've had that as an issue, then that might come up as a concern for us with our council. But honestly, the way we manage and the way we're on top of the circumstance, the chances are that there won't be any circumstances other than the nightly rental that we've been discussing. I think that answers those points.
Right, a quick question. Can you switch off your microphone, please? Right, 2 quick questions and that's it. I'm bringing this to a close. Quick question, please, Councillor Mill. Put your microphone on, please.
In Newham, I notice you work with adult and children services. I just wondered who would be the youngest. Was there an age limit, top and bottom, as it were?
I think it is adult services.
It's 18 plus.
Councillor Ibrahim?
Mine's the clarification, because you're called the Joy Foundation, which implies something, but you're not a charity or a social enterprise. You're just a straightforward private business, and that should be clarified.
Yeah.
Foundation can be misleading.
Yeah, we're not a charity. It's not a charity. And I won't mislead members or anyone.
Absolutely. If I can also
Can you just
point
be
out,
brief, Newton, please?
yes,
Just be very
yeah.
brief on that.
Well, I just want to explain that Joy Foundation was founded not as a charity. It was founded as an idea to support homeless people. That was where it came from. And yes, it is a profit center per se, but it is by no means an extraordinarily profit-making entity. And I mean, that we can explain in a much more detailed way, but obviously not necessarily for the forum that's here today, but most certainly clearly not a charity.
Right, that's clarified that. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for those good questions. So I'd like to ask Catherine Smith to confirm the proposal with a summary of any changes, please.
Thank you, Chair. And the proposal seeks planning permission for a change of use to short-term emergency supported accommodation with the provision of a new commercial use on part of the ground floor. That's through refurbishment of the existing property and including erection of an additional floor at roof level and 2 new single-storey buildings to the rear. Approval is recommended subject to conditions, including an additional condition in the addendum relating to restricting telecoms infrastructure and subject to a legal agreement. During discussions, 2 additional Section 106 obligations have been identified that the applicant has agreed to. One is that residents of the property would be involved in the planting of the landscaped areas. Detail of that would be negotiated with officers. And then connection between the supported accommodation and the work experience in the cafe. Again, details of that to be worked up and negotiated through the Section 106 negotiations, but they're the 2 heads of terms. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the recommendation is to grant. So all those in favour, please show. Those against? And any abstentions? So the recommendation is approved. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, what time is it? Right, we've got 5 minutes. So we're now on to item 10, which is update on major proposals, pages 311 to 324. Any comments on that? No, okay. Item 11 is applications determined under delegated powers, pages 325 to 344. Any comments on that? No, okay. No, I've got no items of urgent business, and the date of the next meeting is the 6th of November. So thank you very much, everyone. Good evening.